It's Brad Allen with the Art of Real Estate. And well, guys, it happened. They actually shut down the government this time with all the every 3 months of arguing and bickering and then last minute deals to save it. They actually did it. So this is not going to be a political video. I'm not trying to get into politics on it. The only political thing that I might say that it might even sound political is I just wish the people we elected, no matter what side of the aisle, would play nice in the sandbox, do their job so it doesn't affect the everyday citizens because they're trying to, I don't know, figure out a longer term strategy or plan when it comes to politics. That's all I'm going to go with. But with the shutdown comes issues. And a lot of people, a lot of agents like yourselves have not been through a government shutdown in your career. So I figured I'd just do a little video, kind of talk about the highlights of what's going on and talk about how I would handle it if I was in your shoes. So first, like we know what a government shutdown is, right? Like Congress did not pass the federal spending bill, which keeps the government's quote unquote lights on. Now there's still a lot of essential workers that will be working, first responders, some federal employees that are deemed essential, but a lot, about 2 million are going to get furloughed, if not fired all out, because that's what people are threatening. So there's a lot going on. That's 2 million people that are going to be not working. And the ones that are working may not get a paycheck. So just for reference, in 2018 is the last time we had a government shutdown. It shut down for, I think, 34 or 35 days. So it can drag on for a minute and people stop getting paychecks after a while. They're not as eager to show up or be nice at work, right? So beyond all that, let's talk about how it affects their real estate. Obviously, the first thing it affects is loans. So anything federally backed has the potential to be a little slower. Good news is FHA and VA loans, they're still going to get processed. Those workers are considered essential, so they are going to be processing things. However, it can slow things down quite substantially. Because think about this, you get a VA loan, if you're used to VA loans, there has to be a certificate of eligibility or whatever term that they use in your local market to see if that veteran can actually, has the benefits to do it. Well, that office may be a little slow to respond because maybe they're short-staffed or maybe they got furloughed altogether. The VA appraisals, it may just take a little bit of time to get those going. So the ones that are in process are probably okay. It's the new ones that might just take a little bit. When it comes to USDA loans or rural housing loans, if y'all are doing that, they could still be processed is what I'm reading, but all the local offices that actually disperse the funds most likely will be shuttered and those employees will be furloughed. So USDA loans is one I'd really keep an eye on if you've got one going because it could be an issue. And then you've got any kind of state or local housing authority loans. Now, they may still process as normal. There may not be a problem at all, but a lot of those come from grant fundings. And guess what? That money has to come from the federal government to the local housing authority to then disperse out to borrowers, whether it's first-time home buyer credits or down payment assistance. So that could be a big issue because that money may not flow as fast to replenish the coffers to then loan to the new people. So that's one I'd watch out for. The other part when it comes to loans is, right, the appraisals, the inspections, all that stuff, title work. So think about this too. When your client goes to get a loan, what does most lenders do? They make them sign a form so they can pull their tax records from the federal government to make sure that the IRS has actually got their tax returns, that they filed taxes, and to see what they actually made, to see if that number actually adds up to what they wrote down on their application. So that's going to be a problem. IRS is going to be short-staffed. IRS is going to be behind the ball. I think a lot of furloughs have already happened or a lot of layoffs have already happened to IRS. So this could slow things down pretty drastically. Now let's move on to flood insurance. So you may say, hey, I live in a high area above sea level. I don't have to worry about flood insurance. Y'all, flood insurance affects just about every single state in our country substantially. No, you don't have to be just on the coast to do that. And flood insurance is the issue. So the National Flood Insurance Program, which is backed by the federal government, you got to have it if you're in a flood-prone area, right? And so how do we know that? Well, the lenders will then ask for a flood certificate. It comes back, it says you either do or you don't need it. If you do need it, not happening. They will not give out new policies or renew ones that are expiring, which can affect some of your current sellers or current owners, I guess. And so that is a problem. Now, the ones that already have it, no big deal. They're still enforced. If a flood comes, then they have flood insurance. They'll be covered, minus the fine print. So here's the thing with that. You got to find out. You got to find out if the flood insurance stuff is going to be an issue for your clients. And if it is, let's talk about how we're going to handle all these things, right? Here's what I would do, guys. I would get in front of this thing like a speeding train. I would take every single client and work backwards from closing soonest to closing last. And I would email them, or actually I'd pick up the phone, call your clients and say, hey, I know the government shutdown just happened. I know we're in the middle of an actual deal. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to dig in today, whether I have the seller or the buyer, and find out if this has any opportunity to affect our closing. I'm going to find out if the VA closing is going to get delayed. I'm going to find out if they have to have flood insurance, and I'm going to report back to you within 24 hours. So that way you're being proactive. You're doing your job, you're giving reasonable skill, you're giving care, and you're finding out so your clients can kind of calm down a little bit, because they're going to be panicking a good bit. Also, you need to touch base with the lenders. Do not, guys, I'm telling you right now, do not go in guns blazing on these lenders. They're about to get blown up today and tomorrow with all these calls. Shoot them an email, shoot them a text, and just be like, hey, is 123 Main Street at any opportunity, at vulnerability to be denied or slow down, or is it not going to hit its closing date? And find that stuff out. Same thing with the title insurance or the attorneys. Make sure that everything they've got is going through, and then report back to your clients. If you do this, just the communication, like I'm always preaching, if you communicate with your clients, it's going to be fine. And if there is a problem, get with your broker or your team leader or whoever you go to for advice, and then tackle that with your clients. The good news is this is affecting everybody. Your buyers that are closing that have flood insurance problems, or they have VA loans or federally backed loans, guess what? The seller's going to know that it's a problem. It's not your buyer's fault, but you still got to stay contractually in the deal. So maybe you have to do an extension. Maybe you have to do some finagling to make sure this thing still closes. The one thing I did want to mention is when it comes to flood insurance, there is one way around it. It's expensive though. You can always look at getting private flood insurance. So we do have a insurance company here at Auto Real Estate. So I do know enough to be dangerous, but there are private flood insurance companies out there. They're going to be more expensive. So maybe if you have to have flood insurance and you can't get it through the federal government, the NFIP program, then maybe you should reach out to the private and see if you can get it. And then as soon as it comes back open, see if your insurance person can flip you over to the federal program and stop that extra expensive flood insurance. So I hope this video kind of helps. I know it's kind of basic and borderline, but just remember, guys, there's 2 million people that are furloughed right now from the federal government. So not only are they not being able to do their jobs, but they also probably are buying a house or selling a house or whatever it might be, job transfers, whatever's happening. So check in with these people. And then lastly, check in with your past clients. Check in with your sphere. Let them know what's going on, because this could affect them as well. See if there's anything you can do to help them. This is a great time to reach out to them and see how you can provide value and expertise and maybe get them the answers they're wondering. And you can be the rock star that they'll always remember because you stepped up when a time of need was happening. At the end of the day, this thing will pass, whether it's going to be 2 hours, 2 days, or 2 months. We're going to get past it. This is what you get paid for. Get out there and crush it.